Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Centrella Show. Today is going to be a special show because I'm going to reveal something very exciting that is going on in my personal life and open up a little bit about my own love journey and what it's been like to manifest love. It's amazing, first of all. But I've been helping clients manifest love for years and years and years using my tools and strategies. And for me, it has been so relationships for me have been one of those things that I wanted once my kids were grown. That has kind of just always been my thing. Right after my divorce, my kids were super young. My daughters were like 18 months when my divorce happened. And so I just made a commitment to myself then that I did not want people coming in and out of their lives. I did not want to be a stereotypical single mom. I wanted to focus on them and focus on raising them and creating a beautiful childhood for them and all of those things. And so I did not want to have a relationship until they were older and had left the home or almost left the home. So a little bit of background on that. And so today I'm going to jump into my 5-step process for how you manifest love that I've been sharing with clients that have gotten them to manifest their partner. I have several clients who have married the person that they have manifested, had children with, the whole nine. So this process totally works. And for me, it was one that I knew I kind of, put off because I wasn't ready for it. But in the last couple of years, I have known that that time has come, and it was time to kind of do my work, open myself up to love, and be in a place where I could then apply this 5-step plan to manifesting the love of my life. So that's what we are going to jump into today. Before I get into those 5 tips, I want to remind you of a couple quick things. If you love and enjoy this podcast, please share the love and share the show. That is a great way to help support it. Share the show and mention me when you do, and I'm happy to repost that for you. But also leave a review. That is the most important thing that you can do as a listener to really, really help give back. And hopefully you've done that already. If you haven't, take a quick pause, takes just a second, and leave that review. All right, so we're gonna jump right in, okay, to my 5. So for me, just continuing on real quick, my personal journey or my personal story, a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, I guess now, was really when I thought, okay, it's time. I got to start like, getting back out there in a way to really kind of see where I was at. And I've done a ton of healing, a ton of personal work, obviously, over the last 15, 16 years. But it's one of those things that just has to be tested in real life. I had definitely healed, from my divorce and from the things that I had been through. But, during that 15 or so years, I still casually dated here and there and did not ever have success with that, by the way. It was not a fun time for the most part. I was definitely attracting the wrong person. A lot of that probably had to do with the fact that I didn't want to be in a relationship. And so it's pretty hard to kind of attract the right person when you're not in the space for a relationship. So a lot of that kind of ties in together. But I also knew that there was things that I wanted to work on and would need to work on before I was in a place to be fully ready to receive the type of love that I knew I would eventually manifest. And I want to say right now, and I've said it on this show probably many times in the past, whenever we've kind of talked about love, that it was something that I've always known without doubt that I would manifest when the time is right. So way back when, right after my divorce, and I made that decision, I had made that decision with the caveat of, I know I will meet the love of my life when the time is right. So a lot of people, women especially, had asked me over the years, aren't you afraid to do that? My God, you're going to be 15 years older. You're going to be in your late 40s, early 50s. Like, how are you going to find love then? Like, you're crazy. And I was like, nope, not at all. Like, I know without question that me focusing on what I need to focus on right now is what I should be doing. And when I'm ready for love, I will absolutely manifest it. So I've always had that unshakable belief. But the reason why I had the unshakable belief was because that was something I told myself, right? So if you know anything about me, I'm a big believer in mindset, and what you tell yourself becomes your belief system becomes your reality. And so I intentionally put that in my belief system. I told myself that over and over and over again. And on days when I was lonely or wished I was in a relationship, that's what I would come back to and remind myself. It's coming. It'll be amazing when it happens. Do your work to get ready. Those are the types of things that I would say. But then, like I said, at a certain point, when the time has come, you got to get out there and start testing the water, as they say, a little bit. And so, like I said, although the healing work that I'd done up to then, I really felt like, oh my God, I'm in an amazing place, totally ready, no problem. And the first thing I did is go out and manifest a train wreck. um, yeah, after absolutely not dating at all for over 7 years, not talking to anybody, not anything for 7 years, the first person that I met after that, just could not have been a worse match for me. And I think it was, in so many ways, it was traumatic, obviously, in a lot of ways. Whenever you're going through a bad relationship, does not feel good. It's not healthy or good for you. But because I had been so long out of the game and I had thought that I got really clear on what I wanted, this person had everything I was looking for on the outside. Okay. So, like, I had my list. This is what I want. This is the type of person that I want. What I didn't know about, because these conversations weren't happening 7 or 10 years ago, back when I was dating, was that there's this certain kind of person who is a narcissist, a love bomber, a manipulator, all of these types of things. And it's really good about showing up how they think you want them to initially. And then the rest is really not a fun ride. I just never experienced that. And because I thought that I was clear on what I wanted, and because this person showed up with all of those things on the outside and initially was kind of like that, I was like, oh my God, this is great. This is amazing. And then I experienced something I'd never experienced before. And I'm really excited because coming up, I have an episode coming up with the author of Secure Love, which is a book that has totally changed my life. And I can't wait for you guys to listen to that. But I thought this would be a good episode to drop before then, so you can get a little bit more of my background as it relates to relationships before I dig into that with her. But so this relationship that I'm talking about from 2.5 years ago was just one that it knocked me sideways in every possible way. I just did not know how to deal with that type of individual. And I was shocked at how much it affected me mentally. I'd never experienced that before. I'd never been with someone who had that ability to bring out an insecure attachment in me. I didn't even know I had that in me. So there was just a lot of things about it that were a huge learning curve for me. And I have to say, like, now looking back, I know why the universe did this. It had a plan, it always does. And I needed to go through all of that and deal with a person like that so it would force the healing that I needed to do and the work that I needed to do to be ready to manifest true love, real, healed, secure love. And I mean, talk about a learning experience. I was with this person for about a year. It turned out to be, just like I said, I don't want to go into a ton of details, but it was traumatic for sure. And I think one of the things that I was really cognizant about, both while I was going through it and definitely after, was I wanted to learn from it. I really, really wanted to learn from it. I was like, okay, this revealed a lot of things in me that still need to be healed, that I need to address. And also I need to change that compass to what really matters, so that the next time I'm manifesting genuinely what I want and not the shell of what I wanted. And so I spent the last year plus doing that work, actively doing that work for myself, healing, going through that process, really digging deep and being honest with myself about what I wanted to change and how I wanted to show up in the relationship I knew I'd ultimately kind of manifest. And so part of the work that I did, so your first step, the 5, is heal yourself. Heal yourself. You have to be ready to receive love. Otherwise, you're just going to continue to manifest what is not good for you. Now, remember, manifesting happens in positive and negative ways equally, right? So, the universe, or whatever you want to call it, doesn't know the difference between positive and negative. So when I'm focusing on the wrong things, or if I'm focusing on maybe the outward shell of a person, or, checking boxes that aren't really relevant to what is in my true alignment, I'm going to manifest that. So that's a perfect example of, if you've had one type of person you've been attracted to throughout your life, and they keep showing up and keep showing up, and you're like, oh my God, all guys are this way, or all girls are this way. That's why, right? So I knew I got to change that signal, and I have to change it at the subconscious level, so that the men who are not right for me will not even see me. I will be invisible to them, because we'll no longer have that underlying subconscious signal that was attracting us to each other and getting me into unhealthy relationships. So for the last year and a half, that has been my focus. And one of the things that I did was really started reading up on a couple things. One was love languages, and I did a podcast about a year ago on love languages. So that tells you what my journey was. I was really working on that piece, understanding my own love language. That was one of the positive things in that relationship. It was the first time I'd ever been with someone who naturally spoke my love language. And I think that was part of why it was just such a mind fuck, because that part was incredible. I was like, I never want to be with someone who doesn't. Like, I didn't know how important that was to me. So I was able to really look at, okay, what were the things I really love and want to bring forward into the next relationship? And what are the things that I am going to listen to my gut the first time a red flag comes up and absolutely not tolerate anymore? So if you have not actually taken the love language quiz, so here's my thing about love languages. I'm going to get on my soapbox for a quick second. Because it's such a popular term, everyone thinks they know what it is. Everyone thinks they know what theirs is, and everyone thinks that they know what theirs means. And I can pretty much guarantee that you don't. I'm just going to flat out say it. Because in all the conversations I've had with people about this, everyone always immediately knows their love. Yeah, my love language is physical touch and acts of service. If I get into a conversation about that, they have no idea what those things mean. They have no idea how someone is supposed to show up for them to give them those things. Like what is an act of service, and how does that make you feel? And why does that make you feel loved? Like, they don't know any of that stuff. And they probably don't know it about their partner either, and don't understand how to give it the way that they are intended. So do some research on it. Listen to the audiobook. I'll put the links here. So that's kind of where I started. I listened to the the original book, The Five Love Languages. And that was really, really eye-opening. And of course, then I took the test. So take the test. First of all, you change over time, you grow over time. So if the last time you took the test was 5 years ago, I bet your love languages have changed. If you're in a different relationship now than you were last time you took the test, I bet it's changed. So take it now, understand yourself. It's part of being in a good and healthy, insecure relationship, in my opinion, is you really knowing yourself, you really understanding yourself. So I dug into what mine were so that I could clearly understand why they mattered to me, why I felt love when someone was giving them to me in an authentic way, how someone could learn to show love to me in the ways that I needed, because that's a big thing. Mine are words of affirmation and physical touch. And words of affirmation is a difficult one. There's a lot of people who don't speak that naturally. There's a lot of people who actually feel really uncomfortable speaking it at all. It feels fake to them. It feels disingenuous. They have a very hard time giving compliments because maybe they're the type of person who says, I don't need them, I don't want them, so they don't know how to give them. So what I had found is that having that be my love language was difficult, to put it to put it mildly. And I needed to learn how to understand it and communicate it in a way that if I met someone that mattered to me, I could teach them how to love me the way that I needed to receive love. And that was a game changer, So go learn yourself, know yourself. And then the next thing that I kind of dug into after that was learning about the attachment styles. So I think the book is The Five Attachment Styles. That was the second book that I read and dug into. I learned a ton about myself in that. Again, go read, learn about yourself. Books like that are great about giving examples to help you kind of identify, hey, I resonate with that. I resonate with how this person interacted in this example. So the more that I'm doing that, the more I'm getting to know myself, right? And once I do, oh my gosh, that is such valuable, valuable information. It helps me show up better. It helps me know what triggers me and what doesn't. It helps me know what's healthy for me, helps me know when I'm feeling safe and secure and loved. And it also helps me know the opposite of all that. It helps me to really quickly see and know when things don't feel good, when my gut is trying to talk to me, when red flags are present. So it's very hard to do that without knowledge and without a deep understanding of who you are and how you show up. And then being real with yourself and saying, hey, this is how I showed up. And I don't like that. I don't want to show up like that in my next relationship. Maybe in those examples, I'm seeing myself as the person who is silenced, or the person who is triggered, or the person who is avoidant, or whatever. And that's who maybe I've always been in relationships. And I don't want to do that in my next relationship, or I want to change that in my current relationship. That you have to have a reckoning with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. You have to see your own faults and then do the actionable work to change those things so that you will show up differently. That, like, period, point blank. You cannot manifest the love of your life if you are not healed. Okay? You cannot manifest the love of your life if you are not healed, if you have not done your work. Or if you met someone amazing, you're going to sabotage it, right? You're going to do the same things you've always done in past relationships. You will not be ready to receive that love or to give that love the way that it should be given. So do the work. Then the third one that I read in the spring of this year was Secure Love. Secure Love just rocked me in all the best ways. Because I can't wait for you to hear the podcast. It's coming up, but go follow Julie's Instagram. I'll put it here. Because every single day she puts incredible tips and examples on everything relationship based and on how to do things like conflict resolution, dealing with triggers, just all the stuff on her page, and it's really incredible. But reading that was a total game changer for me because it taught me how to heal my attachment styles that were not healthy. And it taught me what it looked like, what a secure relationship will look like. She does a great job of showing those examples of kind of that before and after, and how you get from point A to point B, and how you, if you have felt insecure in a relationship or avoidant in a relationship, how you change that and heal and get to a place where you are secure. And that was just the biggest game changer for me. It was kind of like that final step in the healing. And she also does just a great job of teaching you how to communicate with your partner. So go read that book, go follow her Instagram, because to me, the communication piece cannot be understated. Everything comes back to communication. And if you don't have the tools, or you don't know how to communicate with your partner in a way that gets you heard and seen and appreciated for however you're feeling or whatever you're going through or however you're expressing that, how can you have a good relationship? Honestly, like I don't see it. Like really understanding how to communicate in a way that opens the discussion, that creates truly safe space, that creates an environment where you feel like this other person is going to have your back regardless of how you're feeling or what you're going through, and that you can communicate your needs in a way that they will want to respond to them. Like that's the ultimate goal for me anyway. And that's a beautiful thing. So having done all of that work over the last year and a half, I was really in a place where I was just like, I just feel really good. I feel really good. I'm not looking, I'm not nothing. I just finally feel like I've gotten some of the answers for myself. I feel like I am healing all these old past wounds, past traumas. And I'm in just a beautiful and amazing space. And then I did the podcast with my girl, Nancy Holla, or Nancy Bruce. And that was a couple months back. I'll link to it here too. So you probably have heard it. But at the end of the podcast, we were talking about love, and we were talking about dating apps. And I was like, no. I mean, my experience with dating apps over the years has not been positive, we'll just say. And she kind of pressed me in that episode a little bit, and was like, you know, it again is comes back to mindset. What you put in is what you get out, and maybe kind of go about it in a different way. And so I was like, all right. I think my girls were gone one weekend, and I was home and I was bored, and I was like, fine, I'll give it one last try. And so I went on Hinge and really changed all of my settings so that the only profiles I would see would be ones that were in alignment with what I wanted as best I could, you know, as best as like a filter system will allow. And I was on it for 2.5 days and interacted with one person. And that one person, we had just amazing conversation immediately. I was like, okay, conversation's my thing. Communication is a thing. But then I told him, I was like, hey, you know, I'm going off the app. This is not really for me. You seem like a cool person. Happy to continue a conversation if you're into it. Otherwise, have a great day. And I deleted the app. And he messaged me, and we have talked every single day since. Every single day since. And we had our first date like a week later. It was magical in so many ways. But also, I had to be open. I think one of the things that I knew after kind of going through all of my healing, like I said, I was really working on changing that signal. I knew that I had to be open to meeting someone who is not my typical type. And I know us ladies always say, yeah, I'm open to that. But at the end of the day, we always go for our type. If given 2 options, we default to the type, even if we know the type has never once turned out healthy for us. And so this time I knew whoever I met was not going to be my type. I just somehow absolutely knew that. And so I knew I really truly had to be open to that. And in order to be open to that, I needed to get clear on what mattered and how I would recognize them if I met them, because again, it probably wouldn't be someone I would normally immediately be drawn to the way that I had been in the past. So here's your second step or second tip on how to manifest love. What I did 6 months before I met him was sit down and write a 6-page diary entry or journal entry that at the top of it, I wrote, here is a description of the love of my life and the relationship that I want to manifest in detail so that I will recognize it when I see it. Literally, that is what I wrote at the top, and I underlined it. And then I proceeded to write 6 pages of absolute detail of who this person was from a character standpoint. Who is this person? Not who is he showing up to trick me wearing the mask, saying that he is, but who is he at the core? I wanted a kind person. I wanted someone who had faith or meditated. I wanted someone who had emotional intelligence and empathy at the top of the list, someone who is growth oriented. And that didn't mean they were interested in pretending to be growth oriented because that's my industry. They were actually reading books on their own. They were actually actively working on their growth on their own. So the list just went on and on and on. And when I ran out of things for that person, then I changed into what does this relationship look like? So that's your other tip. When you're writing out what you want, start first with your ideal partner. Who are they as a human? And how does that show up in their life? So for instance, on the kind one, I wrote, I want someone who is inherently kind, who treats people with kindness, who is treating the waiter or the doorman or the executive at the dinner table with us the same, who is just generally or genuinely that person. So I gave examples of every single thing I was writing down. And then that second part is, okay, well, what does the relationship look like? In other words, how do I feel? How does this person make me feel? I wanted to feel respected, adored, cherished, valued, all of these things. So I wrote down every single one of those. How do I want to feel in this relationship? And then how are we together as a couple? Like, how do we interact? And one of the things I put on there was we laugh a lot. And I didn't even remember putting that on there because I had never really thought that was something that was important on my list because I never had it per se. But then reading my list months later, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was on there. And I have to say, like, that is one of my favorite things about my partner is that we have so much fun together. Oh my gosh, we have so much fun together. We laugh every single interaction that we have together. And it was just something I didn't even know I needed as bad as I needed it, that I just absolutely love. So put it all on there, but really think like, how are we together? How do we treat each other? How do we communicate with each other? How do we show up for each other? How do we make sure the other feels seen and heard? So again, I wrote examples of all of that stuff. And then the last part was, who am I in this relationship? How am I showing up? How am I different in this relationship than I've ever been in my life? How is this bringing out the absolute best in me? And truly a manifestation of who I want to be. So when you're writing that list, get that clarity on all of those points. Super, super important. And then you have a blueprint of not only who you want to manifest, but the actual real life relationship that you want. And you have a good understanding of what that looks like because you have your examples and how that will feel. And so had I not done step 1 and step 2, which was do my healing first, get to know myself first, change what I didn't like about myself first, and then get all of this clarity on potential partner, myself, and the relationship, I would have 100% missed meeting this incredible, incredible human. And so I can't understate it. Do your work. Most women especially focus on what they do not want in a relationship or in a man. And that list always consists of everything they've experienced in the past. They're saying, oh, I don't want a cheater. I don't want a guy that treats me terrible. I don't want a guy that ghosts me. I don't, they're focused on all of these things that have gone wrong to them. And so that is the only thing they can manifest. They're just repeating the cycle with a different person, but it's the same relationship over and over again. It's the same toxicness. It's the same, unhealthy energy. If you truly want to change that and you're serious about that, this is the work that you need to do to get there. And that clarity is just key. All right. And then the third thing that I did is I started daydreaming and visualizing after I wrote this, daydreaming and visualizing about what that relationship was like. Because I think a lot of us do not have examples in our life of what healthy, loving relationships look like. I mean, that's just facts. Maybe there's one couple, a grandparent, or, maybe you're super lucky and your parents are still in love, but come on, like how many couples do we know that are in love, treating each other with love and kindness, get along great, have fun together? They're not perfect, but overall have a good and healthy relationship. We just don't, most of us don't see that. And most of us have never experienced it. So we don't have a lot to compare it to. And that's why it's super important that you create it in your mind first. You have to be able to imagine it in your mind. So if I was in a beautiful relationship and someone was making me feel seen, heard, loved, what are some of those things they would be doing so that I would feel that way? So if I can identify that, that's a great start. I can imagine them, bringing me coffee in bed because they know I can't get out of bed without my morning coffee or whatever. What are those little ways that it really shows what the relationship is truly about? So the more that you can daydream about that, visualize that, think about that, the more you are creating it as your future reality. Because now you're starting to look for that in interactions with people that you meet. And when you don't see any of those things that you wrote on your list, you immediately know, absolutely not. That's not for me, right? If I said that I wanted to feel respected and seen and heard, and this person doesn't listen to me and they're rude and they do whatever they want to do and they're selfish, I know immediately that's not my person, right? So that's why these lists are just so important, because it is a way for you to be able to make decisions when you do get out there, to very quickly sort people and be like, nope, not for me. Or, okay, they're showing up in all these ways. This is interesting to me. And so when I met him, that list was truly the thing that I kept on going, like, wow, he's showing up in this way. Wow, he's showing up in that way. Like, that's kind of crazy, So it was each of those things that built trust between us, that allowed vulnerability and openness and all of those beautiful things to kind of evolve in a really natural way, and from a friendship base first and foremost, so that we were able to build that with each other and have the rest of it grow in a really healthy and natural way. So daydream, visualize. All right. And then your fourth tip is now get the pictures on Pinterest. So now create your love board. This is kind of the manifesting piece of it. Look for the photos that describe the list that you've written. Okay. You'll have to get a little bit creative. So one of the things that was very important to me that I've never had and always wanted was I wanted a supportive partner. I'm a very, very independent woman, and that is putting it so mildly. To the point where, I would automatically open my own doors. I would absolutely not only never ask for help, but never take help when it was offered, in even tiny little ways. And my year of healing was really about, how do I tone down that energy, find my feminine energy, and start embracing and living in that space when it came to relationships, because my feminine energy is alive and well in me as a mom. It's all the parts of me that I love the most, but are sacred. Those are that feminine energy I always just reserved for my children and for my best friends. It was like the tiny circle in my life was really getting that side of me. Men were 100% getting the type A and not getting any of that feminine energy. And part of that was because I had never met a man that I felt safe with. Right. And so I always had to be like that strong, independent, fierce chick. And it always clashed. It was never a recipe for success. So as I started thinking about what I wanted, I was like, I want to be supported, but to be supported, you have to allow yourself to be supported, right? You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and to allow someone to show up for you and be there for you and take things off your plate and all of those types of things. And so when I went and looked for the pictures on Pinterest, I thought, okay, well, what's a visual of supported? And in Pinterest, Pinterest is a search engine for photography. Is the biggest on the internet. And that's one of its amazing features. So in the search bar, I would put, after really thinking about like what's a good visual, I'd think, okay, well, it's a man holding a woman from behind, right? He's got you. He's got his arms around you. It's allowing you to have that feminine energy, be supported, be taken care of, feel safe, right? And so I put in man holding woman photography and began kind of really seeing some of what those visuals look like. Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I want that. And I came across a picture of Sierra and Russell Wilson that I just absolutely loved. It's, him sitting in this chair in a suit, looking all dapper, and she's like sitting on his knee, looking like a goddess queen. And I thought, all right, that one's it. I want that man who is so secure in himself, and just who he is, that he doesn't have to fight for, I need to be front of the line. He doesn't have to, whatever. He's fine to let me get out there and do my thing and shine. He's not intimidated by any of this. And he's just got me. He's just got me. I was like, that's what I want. So that's just kind of one example, but go through your whole list and turn those words that you wrote into visual images. So then that daydream really starts kicking into a different level, and you start really seeing it as a true possibility and as something that you want. And again, it's going to help you instantly know if someone is not right for you. So you will filter that with absolute confidence. You'll be like, nope, thanks, have a good day. So if you are the type of person who had a hard time saying, doing online dating because you would talk to everybody or you would give people the time of day who you knew probably weren't right for you, you're not going to waste your time with any of that anymore. Like, you will have such clarity on what is good for you, what is healed for you, what is loving and beautiful for you, that will be the only thing you're interested in. And you're just happily going about your beautiful life, totally open to receive that when it comes, but absolutely unwilling to waste your time on anything fucking shy of that. Okay. All right. So then once you have your visual, component, definitely print it out, have your future board, your love future board somewhere where you can see it. I have my love future board on Pinterest. If you want some examples, by the way, go to my Pinterest, and under my relationship board is a sub board called Love. I'll put the quote or the link here as well. And that will give you a lot of just general ideas of how I turn the word love into what those expressions look like for me. Remind you, remember this is for me, so you got to do your own. But that will give you some ideas of like what it looks like from a visual standpoint so that you can manifest it. All right. And then our last tip, or our last step, is get that mindset right. You've got to line up your mindset with all of this work that you've just done. And if you have a mental voice that is saying things like, oh, you're never going to find the right person, there's no one good out there anymore, blah, 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 blah. You're getting too old, whatever your inner critic is saying, you have got to change that. Like, you got to double down on that and be like, absolutely not. I just wrote out this person. So I know that there is a person out there that exists that is going to be like the yin to my yang, is going to be the perfect match for me. And I know that that person will show up when I am ready to receive it, when I am healed and I'm not going to sabotage it. And I'm in the right place for that. And one of the mottos that I have used for years, that is a great manifesting motto for this, that whenever you're having those thoughts, I want you to quickly say, I am getting ready to meet the love of my life. I'm doing the work that I need to do. And I know that somewhere out there, my love is doing the same. That was so important for me. I wanted to meet someone who had done their work too, who was ready to receive me, who I was their manifestation. They had manifested me. I didn't want it to be all me doing all this, right? So every time I felt that way, I was like, oh, it just, the time hasn't come yet, but it is coming. Can't wait for it. I'm going to continue to get ready. I'm going to continue to do the work that I need to do, so that when it comes, I'm showing up as the best partner I can be and as the best me that I can be in that relationship. So use mottos. Use mottos like, the love of my life is on their way. I know the universe is working behind the scenes for me. I can't wait to meet them. I am healing and getting more prepared every day. When the time is right, they will appear. So whatever your inner critic is saying, really look for what those opposites are and just plug it in every single day. Plug it in, plug it in, plug it in, plug it in. So that becomes the new track and that becomes your new belief system. And when the time is right, let me tell you, they will appear. That is what happens. When you are ready for them, they will appear. And so I hope all of that is helpful. If you are currently in a relationship, I think there's a lot of these tips that you can apply to your current relationship to make it even stronger and better. And the biggest one is learning to communicate better. I think that is just a huge key that can help anyone in any type of relationship. So do your work on that. And always listen to your gut, always listen to your intuition, and always do what is in alignment with how you feel. That is the most authentic way that you're going to show up in your life, whether you're with someone, wanting to manifest someone, single, whatever the case is. That to me is the most important thing. Be true to yourself always. And yeah, happy manifesting. I would love to work with you if you are in a place where either you want to improve your relationship or you want to manifest love. I do take private clients, not all the time, but I have an opening right now. So I'll put the link here for you. And I'd love to chat and we can figure out what the best process is for you to get where you need to be so that you are living your best life in every area, not just in love, but in all the areas. Because when you're radiating that energy, I'm telling you, it is pulling everything into your orbit in the best possible way. All right, until next time, everyone, get out there and thrive, baby.